Hey, so today I'm going to be going over how to make an Ivy League, Machne, Shinjin, Lovebug type beat. These are the beats that you see they're more melodic in the underground scene. In case you haven't heard them, I'll probably leave a link to the Ivy League SoundCloud page down below in case you want to check them out, listen to some of their stuff. They're really, really good producers. I listen to them a lot. They're some of my biggest inspirations. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll get started into how I made the beat. So first thing I did was I took this defined pluck off of Hive. Let me turn off the effects here. And I made this melody. It's really, really simple. Fuck. So really simple. The effects that I put onto that, I put some fruity reverb. EQ'd out all the highs, kind of focused a little bit on the mids. Some delay bank. It's just one of the presets. And then fruity stereo shaper to make it a little bit more wide. And then last but not least, I EQ'd out the highs and the lows that I didn't really want. So here's what that sounds like. You can see it's a little bit more spacey and it kind of bounces around, which is what I wanted. Then from there, next thing I did was I just took the melody that I already made and then I pasted it into another pattern and used Hive again with the arc tinker chime. So on that, the effects that I have on that, this is what that sounds like, by the way. And it's just the same exact pattern. So the effects that I put on that, I put some fruity reverb on. I think this is the Cathedral preset. And then again, EQ kind of focused on the mids, EQ'd out the lows and the highs. And then for the final, little EQ down here, again, EQ'd out all the lows and the highs to kind of make space for other tracks. So here's what that sounds like. It's a little bit more spacey with that reverb, and here's what it sounds like with the melody. Then from there I added this pad from, I think it was Purity. It is the analog pad from Purity. Basically what I did is I took kind of the notes from this pattern. As you can see here, it's C, G, and then, or G sharp, sorry, and then G sharp, that's an octave higher. And that's what I did here, except I extended the notes a little bit. So hold on, let me turn off the effects really quick. So here's what that sounds like without any effects. Pretty simple pattern again. So then I added reverb, Cathedral preset again. EQ'd out the low mids, and the highs kind of tried to focus a little bit more on those mid to high mid waves, or whatever you want to fucking call them. And then put some stereo shaper on it to make it more spacey, and then that final little EQ that cuts out all the highs and lows I didn't want. So here's what that sounds like with the effects. And then here's what it sounds like all together. can see it's kind of starting to come together. Then what I did from there is probably the most important part, which is that little lead that they always have, that kind of, you know, sets the main, I guess, melody, or the top melody, whatever you want to call it. So it's Purity again, PW for President. It's in lead synth. So let me pull that up really quick. So here is the melody. It's a little bit more complex than the kind of main melody that I made before. So here's what it sounds like. And then on top of that, I put some fruity delay. So I had delay bank on before, but now I have fruity delay too. Fruity reverb, cathedral again. And then I EQ'd out the low mids because I didn't like how it sounded down there. And then EQ'd out all the lows and left the highs. So here's what that sounds like. It sounds a little bit more spacey with all that delay and the reverb, which is what I like. And then here's what everything sounds together like so far. There's just repeats, and that's pretty much everything on the melody aspect and the instruments aspect. So it's just 4 patterns. 2 are the same. 1 just uses the pattern that I used before, and the melody I kind of came up with on the spot. So now for the bass. For the bass, I'll also have all of the samples that I used in a Google Drive or something folder down below. So in case you guys want to make this beat to learn, because I know when I learn to make beats, or I try to learn, I like making them alongside the producer in the video because it just helps me learn. So for the bass, I used a 808 spins sample. Let me turn off all the effects here. So pattern, pretty simple. It just repeats. And then on top of that, I put Camel Crusher. Camel Crusher is a really great compressor that I use. I like the British Clean preset a lot. Some sausage fattener, fruity soft clipper, and then another EQ. Cut out the low mids because that's where the kick goes, and the really, really low subs. And then cut off all the highs with that last EQ, and then boosted the lows over here a little bit. So here's what that sounds like. Okay, and then the kick. For the kick, I got a rec kick sample. Just used a little bit of sausage fattener on there, and then I EQ'd the low mids up a little bit to fill that space that I EQ'd out before, and then cut off all the top, or the highs, that little EQ. So here's what that sounds like. Then for the clap is pretty basic still. I used some random sample down here from a pack. I don't remember where it's from. Got some more reverb, make it spacey, some delay, and then another EQ, boost the highs a little bit. Here's what that sounds like. Just repeats. Then for the hats, I got a hi-hat finesse, So for that, just a little bit of reverb and boosted the highs here and here. So here's what that sounds like. Pretty easy. And then the last two pieces, I just added these crashes at kind of the midsection or the end of each bar, the start of each bar rather. So on those, put a little bit of reverb, EQ'd out all the lows there. Didn't really do anything to the highs, and then the lows again. So here's what that sounds like. And then the last thing is I put my tag here.
Yashio.
Kind of for that hook drop, and then this riser that I got out of a pack. And that's all. Here's what I did to the riser, by the way. Just a little bit of love filter and reverb. So then here's what all the percussion sounds like together. Pretty simple. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole beat and how you make it. So yeah, here it is.
Yashio.